Hey everybody, Frank Corva here. Welcome to today's Fedi Community session. Super excited to be here with you all and to also be joined by none other than Collins Mwanga of Bitsacco, as well as Fedi's own Modibbe Matsepane, the Africa Community Master. Modibbe, Collins, welcome. How are you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Modibbe, can you hear us okay?
I'm. I can hear you. I'm doing well.
Perfect.
It's been amazing. It's gonna
Excellent.
be an exciting session.
Excellent. I agree. I agree. And we thank everyone for bearing with us. We had a few technical difficulties. This is sometimes the case when connecting with people from around the world, but we're all here. Everything is, we're here and things are clear and we're ready to go. So I want to start with just a quick introduction. Collins, I'm going to go over to you first. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Bitsacco.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. Um, my name is Collins Mwanga. Uh, I'm a community developer with Bitsacco as well as an educator. So I'll share a little on how my Bitcoin journey started. So my Bitcoin story actually starts with a family and a bit of a headache back in 2023. So I first met Jordan, that is in 2023, as he was determined to orange pill me really hard. I was totally great in this.
Just for clarity, if you don't mind, Jodum is who, if you don't mind? Would you mind just letting us know?
Oh, Jordan is the founder and CTO of Bitsacco.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and at that time, I think it was still the inception of the idea of Bitsacco. Yeah, so first he just came, boom, let me talk to you about Bitcoin. He tried to orange pill me, and I had no idea what this thing was. So I remember him talking, and I was just sitting there nodding like, okay, sounds like something, but honestly, I didn't get a single word out of it. So to help me understand even better, so he sent me sats. Uh, First, I downloaded the Moon wallet. He guided me through it, which was fine until now. He left me, and I actually needed those sats in Kenya shillings. So now the pain of spending that sats. Now, that was a crazy nightmare. I had to call him back again and try to find maybe how I can convert these sats into Kenya shillings and how to spend it. So he guided me again, go to Binance, go through the absolute KYC held registration and try to find a seller I could trust. So it was exhausting. And I thought like, if it's this hard to buy and spend, how is it a regular person supposed to use this? So, but I took the frustrations positively. Uh, I think it made me even more curious. And since I'm a builder at heart, so I started teaching myself on how to do the coding stuff and finding materials online on what really Bitcoin is and what it's all about, because it was really at early stages, 2022, 2023, not much was going on in Kenya about Bitcoin. So my my uh, my thinking was that maybe this is some kind of another scam that's coming up. But again, let me just go dig and find out. Yeah. So by 2024, I was just hanging around his friends and they took me down the rabbit hole and they really advised me on. Actually, during that moment, I also met Modibbe as well. And he also gave me some few tips about Bitcoin on how it works, on all about. So uh, during that period, I think the seed that Jordan planted about SACCOs started to make sense. So because I watched that moment, the shillings lose value very fast than we could save it. So I think it was a really inspiring moment and a learning venture as well.
Amazing. I appreciate all of that, Collins. Modibbe, if you could quickly introduce yourself as well. And also, I'm curious if maybe if you could comment some of what Collins just shared. That seems probably like a familiar experience that a lot of people have, right? Learning about Bitcoin. Maybe it's a scam. This is too difficult. Do you hear this kind of stuff a lot? Is this a common thing?
Yeah, this is pretty common. But in terms of introducing myself, I am the community master at Fedi Africa, and my role involves getting communities to understand how Fedi works and explore its full potential. But when we speak of Fedi, it's not just an app that people get to use. There's a lot that went into building Fedi, and it's a combination of what we call freedom technologies. These are technologies that allow people to have freedom. They're permissionless, and Fedi took those, packaged them in a nice and easy to use app. One of those amazing things is multi-spend, which I believe Collins will talk more of, since Bitsacco is built around that model. But there's also a chat that is private, another technology used there. And then the wallet is, offers a private Bitcoin wallet. So there is more of these things which we take to communities, in an easily packaged one app. And we're continuously looking for communities and individuals to help us take this mission further and bring about hyper Bitcoinization in Africa. And some of those people will be knights, some will be ambassadors, some will be community builders, some will be mini app builders, some will be liquidity providers. So you can see that we span across different levels and areas, and that's just what I help Fedi do on the ground in Africa.
Amazing. Thank you,
And in terms of the stories that you'll often hear from people, especially like people who are hardcore Bitcoin believers now, they've had like a rough start. Either they got scammed, wanted to quit, but ended up, just giving it one more chance, and then after that, they never look back. So we hear most of these stories because we have a history of scams in Africa. Kenya is not immune to this. There's a lot of this on the continent, but I think education, proper onboarding, and providing easy to use tools eliminates most of that.
Appreciate that. And I think that there's scams across the globe. I hear about this day in, day out across the globe when it comes to something like Bitcoin, because it can be a little bit difficult to understand, to wrap your head around. And I think, Collins, not everybody does what you did and goes and learn more. And you have this inclination as a builder to then say, okay, I want to understand this because I want to build on it. I don't think that's everyone's experience, but I'm very grateful that there are people like you out there who want to dive deeper, not only to understand it, but to then potentially contribute as a builder in the space. But before we get to some of the work you've done as a builder and as a community developer, I want to just quickly give an overview of what SACCO is to maybe people who aren't familiar with it. And this is to Modibbe and to Collins. Could you give us, or I'll start with Collins, could you just give us a general overview of SACCO? So I think that's it's an acronym for Savings and Credit Cooperative Organizations, and these are popular in Kenya and I think in East Africa more broadly. But can you tell us a little bit more about them, if you don't mind, Collins?
Yes, sure. Well, in Kenya, we don't really do finance alone. We do it in tribes that we call it chamas. So a chama is basically an informal group of friends or neighbors who pool money together to help each other grow, maybe to buy land or pay school fees. So a SACCO is just the more formal and regulated version of that. So to give you some context, SACCOs are the backbone of the Kenyan economy. So SACCOs have been around since before independence, but they really exploded in the 70s. So today, Kenya has the most vibrant cooperative movement in Africa. We are talking about over 15 million members and assets over 1.5 trillion shillings and counting. So everything here in Kenya is under SACCOs. So the SACCOs are overseen by an institution called SASRA. So SASRA is the SACCO Societies Regulatory Authority, so which keeps a tight lead on how they operate. So the way the work is very simple. You buy shares, you save regularly, and that gives you the moral right to borrow at fair rates. So it's built on community trust, which is great. But the problem is traditional SACCOs are buried in paperwork. So there is a very slow bank transfers, heavy bureaucracy. So at Bitsacco, we wanted to take the Chama spirit and give it a Bitcoin engine. So in Kenya, a lot of preference is on SACCOs because it has low interest rates. So SACCOs loans typically hover around 12 to 15% per annum. That is on a reducing balance. Unlike banks, these rates are not stable though. They tend to fluctuate over time. So it's also effective costs on loans. The dividends are at least the members are sure of around 10 to 16%, which is far higher than any bank savings account. So, that's how the SACCOs really operate in Kenya. And I believe it's more of the same shared knowledge around East Africa.
Appreciate that. Modibbe, anything to add there?
Yes, absolutely. So the SACCOs version in Kenya, it's something that you find across the continent. So in South Africa, it's called Stokvel. In Nigeria, it's called Isusu. In Ghana, it's called Susu. So almost every country has it different name, but the principle is the same. So, and it was born out of necessity. Communities did not means to put resources together and buy things which one person will not be able to afford at once. So they came together to do these things. And in a country like South Africa, it's starting to get more modified and more formalized, but it's something which was started by our grandmothers. Mothers are continuing with it. Young people are now taking this, using it to like as a vehicle to acquire properties, start businesses, fundraise, all of those. But the model is based around the social layer. People that know and trust each other come together, put money together, and then people will borrow from that, at lower rate, but some just use it as a way to raise money, do purchases, so on and so forth. So it's something that's very common across Africa, and almost everyone relates to it. So obviously, the challenge with that current system is you save money for the whole year or for 3 months, in fiat, and then it gets devalued over time. So that's the problem that most people are starting to realize. And Bitsacco, is a perfect blueprint of what communities around the world can do. In Africa, in Latam, Southeast Asia, this is something which we think is gonna have a serious takeoff, and it's something that exists already. And you look at what Fedi came and did; it simply took the Chama model or Stokvel model and gave it the a more scalable model. So I think people will be able to type into Bitsacco in different countries, but also people can develop their own Stokvels or Chamas directly on Fedi using the Fedi protocol.
Amazing. Appreciate that overview, Modibbe. And I want to, on that note of people being able to use Fedi to do this, I want to go back to Collins. Collins, when you started Bitsacco, or when Bitsacco was started in late 2024, it looked a lot different than what it looked like as of January of this year, January 2026. I think the initial intent was different. When you decided to move the community over to Fedi, I think there was a general shift as well. I think you stopped being an official SACCO and you're doing something, the approach is a bit different than the initial approach from about a year and 3 or 4 months ago. Can you talk a little bit about that shift that has taken place?
Yes. Bitsacco, during that moment, if I can explain what really Bitsacco was at that time. So Bitsacco is actually a modern digital saving platform inspired by traditional Kenyan Chamas. So it was designed to help users achieve financial peace of mind through smart money management, particularly via Bitcoin savings. So ideally, users our members could create their accounts using their phone numbers. So, and they would make their deposits via M-Pesa or the Lightning addresses. So the saving options were individual personal savings or wallets or group savings through the Chama model, which we will explain it later on using the multi-spend feature inside the Fedi app. So in the Chama functionality, users can create and join Chamas, invite members, and manage collective savings with transparency. So each member could see what the other person has saved or has contributed to the Chama. And withdrawals, it was through the permissions of individual members. There are some members who are given that, so they're assigned like chairperson or secretary or treasurer of the Chama. That's the typical traditional model in the Kenyan system. So we're just giving it a new face inside Bitsacco. So there's totally no difference there. They know what happens on the ground. So when it's brought on Bitsacco, it's totally familiar with them. So we decided to stop being a VASP, that is a virtual asset service provider, and started being an open community. So we pivoted from a central entity holding funds to a decentralized model under Fedi. So Fedi app gave us a better option for this, to handle our community and move beyond the headache of seeking permission all the time. So during this period, we were able to grow from 120 to 500 members and hitting over 2 BTC. So it has been an incredible success that is from in the old model, but it came with some serious growing pains. Honestly, our biggest challenge was the permission trap. We actually tried to seek formal registration through the SACCO regulatory bodies, the SASRA, in 3 different instances. We really put in the work to play by the old rules, but we realized that something frustrating was that the more we sought permission, the more we were forced to operate like traditional SACCOs, like central banks, a centralized banking system. So we were drifting further and further away from the Bitcoin ethos of being permissionless and trustless and giving the power to the community to manage their funds. Because in essence, we were managing our members' funds inside Bitsacco. So we made the hard choice. We needed to stop chasing legal stamp and start building a real community. So Bitsacco became a community. So Bitsacco now is an open community hosted on Fedi and has been a game changer for our members.
Amazing. I appreciate all that. And I like that you really focused on the spirit of what Bitcoin is, that it's something different than the central banks and permission technologies. I think sometimes people lose sight of that. And I think it does take away from what you're trying to achieve. So I'm glad to hear that you were able to refocus and say, you know what, this is sort of not in the spirit of Bitcoin. Let's do something that makes a bit more sense. And I'm obviously happy that Fedi could help in this regard. Modibbe, to you, why is Fedi, if you could maybe highlight what the community feature offers, mini apps within the communities, the way that educational materials can be purveyed within the communities. Why is it sort of a perfect match that something like Bitsacco comes over to Fedi?
If you look at the current setup of communities, I'll speak particularly to Bitcoin communities. There is a couple of things which people want to do. One is consolidate all the resources that they need into one. So you have a community, you have it on one of the platforms, be it WhatsApp or Telegram or Signal. there are tools which they need to use on a daily basis. Think of Bitrefill, think of Tando, think of Minmo, think of, all of these tools. It's not easy to present them in a consistent manner in WhatsApp or in Signal or in Telegram. But if you look at the Fedi community space, it gives you the opportunity to present those in a good manner. So you'll have tools that you want people to access. It can be Bitrefill, Tando, Minmo, and many others in one place where people can easily access them. And then you move the groups as well onto Fedi, where you can invite people to be, in different groups, public as well as private, in one app. So you have community resources and tools, and then you have community groups as well as announcement channels. But you can also allow people to have a wallet, from just having the community space. Remember, there is resources, and then there is a need to store Bitcoin and spend it. So when you introduce people to the community aspect, you put resources together, and then the communication aspect, but you also bring about the wallet aspect, and then you complete the whole cycle. So that means instead of having 5 or 6 different apps on top of a Bitcoin wallet, on top of a WhatsApp group or a Signal or Telegram, you now have one app. And then all the other apps which you had to use, we continuously work with these builders to create the Fedi mini apps, which means like in the other discussions, they related how easy it is to start building a web app instead of a typical app. So this works for both community builders. It works for individual users. It also works for mini app builders. Community spaces is a powerful way of doing that. And on top of all this, it's a private offering. So compared to where people would give up phone numbers and all of those, when you use the Fedi app to create a community space and invite your members to it, you don't need to use phone number or email. So people can join and participate willingly without giving up the element of privacy. So when you look at the whole thing, privacy is at the top of it, but it's not presented as, this is private. It's simply things that you do daily, but they offer you the private incentive.
Appreciate that. It's like joining a group in real life, right? If you walk into a room somewhere in the world, we're not going to ask for your phone number and your email right away. You just join the group.
Exactly.
And I think Fedi replicates that in the digital realm, which I think is really important. Collins, there's one particular dimension of Fedi, aside from the privacy, that I wanted to talk about, which is the multi-spend feature, because I think Fedi's multi-spend feature is the thing that helps you to still create that Chama effect, if I'm not mistaken. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit to how that works, and to maybe some of the hurdles, maybe even some success stories with onboarding people to it. Just kind of wondering how quickly they get it and how quickly they adapt to this new technology.
Yes. Well, I would say that in the selective that it's only multi-spend, but I would just like to describe how it's been the phase of moving over 500 members to Fedi to onboard them to the Bitsacco communities. So during our recent onboarding phase for those 500 members, the energy was electric. For the first time, these members aren't trusting Bitsacco to hold their money. They own their private wallets, they hold their own keys, and they have total control over their wallets and funds. So we provided them with Bitsacco guides. So Bitsacco guide, it's an mini app as well inside the communities. So they can go through the Bitsacco guides on how to use to spend their Bitcoin using Minimo. Well, Minimo is a mini app for buying Bitcoin, which is very easy to buy Bitcoin. So they just insert their phone numbers, the amount they want to buy in Kenya shillings. Then they receive an STK push, and boom, their wallets are updated, the stats that they are requested. And then we also have a Tando mini app to spend. So they can buy Bitcoin privately and spend it on M-Pesa services in Kenya with a middleman breathing down, with no middleman breathing down their neck. So which is fantastic.
Yeah, this
so
amazing, and I'm glad.
Yeah,
please.
So we even solved the Chama problem. We built a specific guide for our members to continue running their traditional savings groups on Fedi using the multi-spend feature. And that's the beauty of it, because multi-spend and the Chama feature in Bitsacco, there's no much difference. The only technical term there that the finding we had to understand is the multi-spend term. But the rest of the things, they're similar. So it gives them that same community accountability they've had for generations, but with the transparency and security of Bitcoin. So in this moment, we aren't asking for permissions anymore. We are just providing the tools for people to be sovereign inside the Bitsacco community, inside Fedi. So the guide for the multi-spend is very easy. First, they just create your Chama. Inside the guide, you said create your Chama. That's the term they're familiar with. So before enabling the financial features, you must establish a private chat group for your members. So we guide them how to establish the private chat groups and how to create their Chama name. So they enter your name there. They just, whichever name they want to name their Chama, even though the multi-spend, it's not editable for them to say, we want to name it a different name, but they can just select a group from the menu and enter the Chama name. Very simple, and then they save the changes. So from there, they can set up the multi-spend. It's a very simple guide that we have created there, and they can choose the number of voters. They can select the federation. That is, after onboarding the users, the members to Bitsacco, they automatically join the community. So automatically, when they create the multi-spend, they will be using the Bitsacco Federation. So all the members in the Bitsacco Federation will be able to access the multi-spend, the Chama they would have created. So it's easy for them, and we are getting better feedback, very good feedback, because they are really, they've seen that the onboarding is so seamless. It's like they've changed nothing. So the process of savings is still continuing. It's like it was never even interrupted in any way. So it's really brilliant.
Amazing. Appreciate that overview. Also, I just wanted to say to everybody listening, please feel free to drop some questions in the comments if you haven't already. We will do our best to get to them in probably about 5 minutes or so. So if there's anything that Collins or Modibbe has shared so far in this conversation that you want to follow up on, or even just leave a comment about, say you liked it or had a question about it, please feel free to do so now, and we'll get to them in just a moment. I appreciate all of that, Collins. Generally speaking, when you talked about bringing people over to Fedi, teaching them how to use these, it seemed relatively easy, seamless. When it comes to using this technology, is it so Fedi, I think, it offers a lot. There's a lot going on within the app. You have the chat feature, you have the communities feature, you have the mini apps. Does it take a minute? Does it feel like people are just sort of, it's new, right? It's a super app that contains many apps. What's the first questions that people often have about this? So when they are coming over to it, they have someone like you, a trusted individual, bringing them over to it, which I think is a big part of the equation. We need people like you, people on the ground who have the trust of communities. But technologically, do people feel that it's a little bit for them to wrap their heads around? What do they often look to you for guidance for?
Well, while onboarding our members to the Bitsacco community inside the Fedi app, there's always one question. Why? Why Fedi? Why Fedi app? Of all the apps, why Fedi? And you'll be like, Yes, this is why we want you to be here, because we are giving you the freedom to manage yourselves. Fedi is freedom technologies. So if you have the freedom in your own hands and you can manage your funds by yourselves, and everything that is set up on Bitsacco web app can be set up here easily and securely for yourselves, why not? So the other hurdle that they face is, you see, when we send an invite or an invite code for them, it pulls them to the Bitsacco community, yes, but again, we have to send another separate invite to activate their chats, the Bitsacco members chats, which they see it's a double work for them. But we have simplified that, and we have provided the guides and communications and educations on how this is very important, because we need to keep in touch and do continuous engagement and communication in the Bitsacco community chats. So the onboarding process has been fun and learning process as well, and we've been offering feedback to the Fedi team, the UX team, and I hope we'll continue to engage with matters regarding the UX development and the feature and the user experience over that.
Amazing. Appreciate that. Modibbe, anything to follow up on there? Again, people using new technology, especially when it comes to communications or financial infrastructure, it can be overwhelming for people. People get used to what they're used to, whether that's WhatsApp or their local, in Kenya, something like M-Pesa. The psychology of bringing people over to Fedi, what tends to be some of the challenges, and then what ends up being the thing that alleviates people's anxiety?
I think to add on top of what Collins has already said, people are asking what's the multi-spend, and to his point, we're always open to taking feedback, and this is a good piece of feedback. How can people customize this and name it to be relatable to their own communities and realities? That's a good piece of feedback that I'll take back to the team, and I know they're watching this as well. So the biggest thing is people not understanding that they can use this without phone numbers as well as emails. But when you fully explain why that is and how they mitigate the fear of losing access to their funds as well as chats and the likes, people get it. But that's still one thing that people often seem to be reluctant on. And I think the team understood this very early on, hence the creation of something that we call social backup, whereby instead of remembering the 12 words, which is it's golden, if you can remember those, keep them safe somewhere, it's awesome. But because we are social as people, the social backup allows you to take a video of yourself, encrypt it, and share it with people. So people cannot use the video to retrieve your account, but you can do that. So it's something that you can easily share with people, for safekeeping and safe storage. So that's one challenge, but there's a solution for it, which has been polished. Once it's ready, communities can start making use of that. But otherwise, the other stuff they get to relate easily because it's very familiar on some aspects, but the backup privacy aspect was where people were finding a challenge.
Okay. Good to know. One of the things that I think, just to put this out there as well, you can always reach out to Fedi. Modibbe, maybe offer the easiest way to do that. And I only say this because I'm listening to you now sort of take this feedback from Collins and say, okay, that's something to keep in mind. Yesterday, I was speaking with the team from Modibbe Peru, or last week, I should say, and they were talking about how great Lorena has been, Lorena is our LATAM community master, in terms of receiving feedback. If people do have an issue, if you're in a position like Collins and you want to sort of understand something better about Fedi to then relay that information, or say, hey, Fedi, it would be great if you guys could maybe consider doing something like this, what is the easiest way for people to do that?
So the easiest way to do that can be within the Fedi app, contacting the Fedi support. That's number one. The second one can be reaching out to myself on Twitter. But I think Mary can help with sharing the link that has all the masters Fedi usernames, and then you can just click on that, and then I'll be able to reach out to us. But we are constantly and always really available for feedback, provide any form of training or guidance on how to use the app, and clarify any doubts which people may have.
Amazing. Appreciate that. Thank you, Modibbe. As I mentioned, I want to get some questions in here. So to our producer, to Mary, if we have any questions ready, we're happy to field some of those from the audience. It looks like we have our first one here. What other community experiences have you seen your community demanding, and would those be published as mini apps? That's a fantastic question. As one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, one of the parts of the Bitsacco community, like many communities on Fedi, is an assortment of mini apps. So Collins, I'll give you that question if you don't mind.
Well, we've seen a couple of requirements or needs from the community, and they've been requesting so much about how can they access loan or interest. I mean, how can they access loan inside the Fedi app? So we are working with our partners on how to come around with something like that, and we are quite sure that in future something might come up very nice.
Something very nice, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
you
yeah.
heard it here first. Collins is Collins is working on it. I love it. So yeah, that seems to be a really popular topic. When I was doing my work as a journalist, people would always ask me questions. They're really interested in those sorts of products. So borrowing against their Bitcoin, is that another way to say it, Collins?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems to be a big request. Okay, interesting. Good to know that that's in the works. Do we have any other questions from the community? Let's see. Looks like we do. How can I find multi-spend on Fedi? I'm going to send that one over to Modibbe. I see him half smiling already, so he looks like he's ready to go here. Yeah.
All right. So to find the multi-spend on Fedi, you need to create a private group. And to create a private group, you simply, in the chat section of the app, just create a group, and then don't make it public, don't make it broadcast. It's going to be a private group by default. And then you would need to add a few other people, and then go into the settings, upgrade the group from just the private group into a multi-spend. And then as simple as that. But one thing that's going to be asked is for you to associate that group, because you're basically turning that into a savings group. It's going to ask you to choose which wallet you want to have the savings go into. So if you have joined any wallet or federation, be it the Bitsacco one or one of the many public wallets, you can select the one that you want to use. So every time you make a deposit into the multi-spend, you'll be taking funds from that particular wallet. So that's how it works. And I think there might be some resources which Bitsacco has put out, Fedi has put out as well, which can be linked to the conversation afterwards.
Amazing. Much appreciated. Speaking of links, we do want to follow through on what Modibbe was talking about there. Looks like our producer, Mary, has this contact ready for you to reach out to the Fedi Masters. So there is the QR code, ladies and gentlemen. Open that Fedi app, or just use your camera to scan the QR code. And this gives you an ability to get in touch with the Fedi Masters, which we have right now in Africa, LATAM, and in Asia as well. So really important to reach out. It's really important. It's important to ask questions with this stuff. The feedback often gets taken seriously. I'm actually about to go meet I should say always gets taken seriously, and we always respond. I'm actually about to go meet with the team from Harlem Bitcoin this evening. They have a meetup here in New York City. I had just spoken with John, and he actually said that not only were people responsive to what he was saying, but that he felt like he was part of the development team. He felt like not only was everyone listening to what he was saying, but they were actually incorporating it. And I think that speaks again to the importance of community. We look at the people that we work with that are using Fedi as part of the broader Fedi community. And we want to hear what you think, what your questions are, all of that kind of stuff, because it informs what we're doing. So please feel free to reach out. QR code still there to the right. I think we may have one or two more questions. Let's give a little space for that. If we do, we could just bring those up on the bottom. But if not, we could begin to land the plane to wrap this up. We may or may not. But if we do, we'll have those come up. Oh, looks like we do. Are the Bitsacco guides available globally or just the Bitsacco community? I love this question. Can we follow the guides in educating members of our own communities on Fedi? That is a fantastic question. Collins, I'll send that over to you.
Well, as much as the Bitsacco guides are conspicuously within the Bitsacco communities, we are hosting the Bitsacco guides at bitsacco.com. So anyone can access the guides and read through how to do a multi-spend, how to do Tando, or how to do Minmo, amongst other guides. So the bitsacco.com, it's open to the public.
And I think also, I remember reading your blog post about, I think it was in the earlier part of this year, where you talked about this idea of bringing the concept of SACCO to the world, not just to East Africa, not just to Kenya, not just to Africa, but to the world. So I think this question speaks a little bit to that, right? The purpose of Bitsacco being on Fedi is to help make this a global idea. Am I correct about that, Collins?
Yes. It's not, well, Bitsacco is not just hedged in Kenya alone. Anyone can borrow the idea and utilize it as much as they like, as long as it's within the community, within the power of the community. It's permissionless and sovereign to the members that are using within it.
Perfect. Appreciate that. I believe we also have one more question, so let me give a little space for that. And then after that, we'll begin to wrap this up. So final question here. How can I create a community on Fedi? Is it the same thing as a federation? That is a fantastic question as well. I'm going to send that one over to Modibbe, if you don't mind.
Collins, this is for you.
Uh-oh, man.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Modibbe needs a break. That's what he's telling us, ladies and gentlemen.
So the community and federation are different on Fedi. Back in the days, it used to be, incorporated, but now you can decide to have a community which focuses more on the, the social aspects. It's in the name community, meaning that if you'd like to build a community and not have to run a wallet for your community, you can do that, and people can use the public federations. So a community, you can create it on Fedi right away. Just go into the Fedi app. It's going to land you on the Fedi Global. At the top, there's a plus sign. Just click on that and follow the prompts to create a community. You can always go back to edit it and invite people to join. While with the federation or the wallet, it's where you store money. So it's separated from the social stuff. And anyone can create this as well. Use it privately, use it with family, use it with business partners, use it with the community. So all of these things are available for people to create right now on Fedi. And with the federation as well, you go into the wallet page, and then there's a plus sign at the top. You just click on that. It's going to give you prompts on how to create that. One thing to add on this is the wallet has a monetization aspect. This has been requested by community builders around the world. They want to be self-sustainable, and Fedi has come up with that way of giving people a way to generate a bit of income from the transactions that happen within the community. So in this case, the money is not leaving the community in terms of paying fees, but it stays within the community and can be deployed locally for things that benefit the community. So there is that. But if there's any question that people get stuck on that, like we provided the contacts, you can always reach out, and then we can guide you on how to do that.
Perfect. Appreciate that, Modibbe. One last thing before we wrap up here. I just wanted to mention we're building out the YouTube page right now at Fedi. We have educational resources up there. We're actually resharing all of these sessions that we're doing on Thursday mornings, my time, but on Thursdays. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube page. We want to get more people over there learning, more people listening to these conversations after we have them here on X. So this will be reposted there by tonight, by later today, or maybe tomorrow. So if you want to reference it again, please feel free to do so. We'd greatly appreciate it. Again, we have the QR code over here to the right. And also, I believe we have a link to the YouTube page in the comments. On that note, I want to start to wrap things up here. Collins, could you let people know where to find you? Again, maybe reiterate how to find you on Fedi, how to find the Bitsacco community on Fedi, and then anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up.
The last, what I would like to share, I would say, if you like to find me, you can find us on Twitter, Bitsacco, at Bitsacco, or if you want to chat me up personally, it's at call_Mwanga. That's on Twitter. You can also access our Bitsacco website, bitsacco.com, where you can fill in, where you can partner with us, or you have any other questions, or access the WhatsApp group. You can chat us up. So the last thing I would say is that you can never go wrong with Bitcoin, and let's just build around the Bitcoin ethos. It should just be the way it is.
Beautiful. This guy's a poet. He's a community developer. He's a software developer. He's a poet. Man, we're lucky to have you on today, Collins. I appreciate it, my friend. You can never go wrong with Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. Modibbe, final thoughts. Where can people find you as well?
People can find me on Fedi. That's the first place to go to. You can find me on Fedi. If you can't find me, talk with the support team. They will link you to my Fedi username. But you can also find me on Twitter. And my parting message for everyone out there, builder, community leader, anyone that is doing anything interesting, please give Fedi a chance. It's the most complete wallet in the ecosystem. If there's anything that you can find on Fedi and you'd like to do, I'll be happy to have a chat with you and see how we can make that happen for you.
Love that. Much appreciated. I think we also have a quick shout out from the audience, if I'm not mistaken. We'll give a little space for that here on the bottom. Thank you for this session. I learned a lot. Well, we sincerely appreciate you tuning in, Dandi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And to everybody who's tuning in, we sincerely appreciate it. Again, we're going to be doing this every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Barring any technical difficulties. And again, we appreciate your patience this morning. Had a slight hiccup, but we got that worked out. And I'm very grateful that this conversation has been technologically as smooth as it has been. I learned so much. Collins, I sincerely appreciate your time. We love what you're building. We're super happy to have the Bitsacco community as part of Fedi. And Modibbe, as always, appreciate your insights, wisdom, everything you're working on over there. We will hopefully we'll be doing this again next week. I think we'll have Sabina from Tando with us. Modibbe will be back. But Collins, thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it. Great to meet you here.
Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine. Yeah, pleasure is all mine. I think our producer's saying we have to stick around for just a moment. Any messages, anything we should know, producer? Anything that I think we got something at the bottom here. What's that? Let's go, Fedi. I back that. I like that spirit. Let's go. Thank you so much, Koda, for joining in with us here. I think that is all for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Again, sorry about the slightly late start. This has been a blast. I hope everybody has learned something. You saw plenty of QR codes there today. I hope you've scanned some of them. You can also rewatch this if you need to go back and scan them. And as I mentioned earlier, it'll be up on our YouTube page, where once again, we'd be very grateful if you could subscribe and maybe like this video once it's posted. So thank you again, Collins, Modibbe. We'll do this again next week. Take it easy, everybody.